Hey guys, Marshmallow Chomp here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and today we're running, well, I'm going to be showing you a pretty cool one. It's a very casual one, it's not overly strong, but it can do a lot more than you'd initially think, and it's really fun to play, and the themes are just really cool, so you're going to have a lot of fun regardless of how much you win or lose, but at the same time, you're not just going to flat out lose all the time. So today's deck list is the Penguin Frog deck. So I don't have else to say, so let's get right into this. So we'll go through our Penguin lineup first. I'm starting with 2 Penguin Squire. Penguin Squire is a super cool card. He's level 5, and if you control a set monster, he can special summon himself to the field and reduce his level by 1 or 2, and he's a tuner. So you can have a level 5, 4, or 3 tuner, depending on what you need at that time. This deck does have a lot of level modulation and level changing, which means you can run a whole host of different synchro monsters quite comfortably and get them out a decent amount. What else to say? You can target a face-down defense position monster and change it face-up, and its effects are negated unless it is a penguin. So basically what you'll do is you'll set a card. Obviously you can bring out Squire, then you'll flip that up. Now if it's a penguin, you'll get the effect of bouncing something most likely. Even if not, it's just like a level 2 for example, and you've brought him out as a level 4. Well, you've got your level 4 tuner and your level 2 monster. That's a straight up Penguin Brave or any other level 6 synchro. So even if you're negating the effects, it doesn't matter too much. You're still getting a synchro most likely from this play. He's a 1-card synchro, and he's very good for a free body, free tuner, and he can get all sorts of penguin effects off really easily and really fast and turbo them out, which helps them not be such a slow deck. We are then running 2 Great Emperor Penguins. Great Emperor Penguin is super cool, and with the new spell Royal Penguin Garden, it lets you get him out a lot easier. What he does is you contribute him to special summon up to 2 penguins from your deck except Great Emperor Penguin. So you can summon 2 of the exact same penguin just as long as it's not Great Emperor Penguin. And yeah, there's not much else to say. It's a great card. It's a 1 for 2, so you're going +1 on board. And with ones like Squire being tuners, again, it's an easy way to get into some synchro plays. Or even some Xyz plays if you're bringing out 2 of the same one. Now, I was running 3, but it felt clunky. So again, another 2 of. Running 2 Penguin Soldiers, the old classic from starter deck Joey. Flip, target 2 monsters on the field, return them to the hand. It's a level 2 water aqua. And, I mean, there's not much else to say besides that. It's a great card, bounce 2. And obviously with things like Penguin Squire, letting you turbo out this effect on the same turn it's set, it's just pretty good. It's a double removal with 1 flip, and you get to keep him on board. And something I do quite like with this is you can set Penguin Soldier, and when he's flipped up, you can return an opponent's card and Penguin Soldier back to your hand. So you can set him again on another turn, if that's what you want to go for. Obviously, nowadays, that's not as good of a play, but it still comes up sometimes, and it's still beneficial. Also, we are running a Kaiju in this deck, so if you tribute an opponent's monster for a Kaiju, flip up Penguin Soldier, the Kaiju will come back to your hand, so that's a bit of a cheeky play. Next up, we're running no Penguin. Only 2. I did run 3, but I found, because of how he works, 2 is a lot better. So the first effect is, during either player's turn, when a Penguin's effect resolves, activates, sorry. You can bring him out from the graveyard for free. He's a level 3. It's a free summon. But also, if a card, once per turn, if a card is, or cards are returned from field to hand through a penguin's effect, they are banished instead. So yeah. Oh, and yeah. So this it's just making the things that you're bouncing more permanent removal, and it's just helping the deck be a bit faster with the free summon. Obviously, as well, with things like Penguin Squire. Say you set a Penguin Soldier, right? Set Penguin Soldier, activate effect of Penguin Squire. That triggers no Penguin Engrave, Then Penguin Squire's effect to flip Soldier, you're getting a double banish on their field, and you've got 3 monsters. This can be a level 5, 4, or 3 tuner. You've got a 2 and a 3. So, as you can see, there's lots of plays you can go into there. You could go into some Synchros, you could go into some XZs, you could go into Links, or you could just go for a little mini beatdown in battle phase before linking off into something. So, yeah, there's a lot of nice plays like that in the deck. And then we're going to go for one more Penguin card. I was considering running a bit of a Flying Penguin, Bolt Penguin, Unexpected Die Engine, but instead I'm going for one of the most slept on Penguins in my opinion, Penguin Ninja. We're only running the one, but what Penguin Ninja does, he's level 3 and he has 1400 attack, which isn't too bad actually for a flip monster. You can target up to 2 spell traps your opponent controls. Up to is also helpful because it means that it's not required, and return them to the hand. Now, when you're coming across things like Royal Decree, Summon Limit, Rivalry of Warlords, Black Garden, it's good to get these cards out of the way. And yeah, obviously, like Penguin Soldier has to be monsters, so this has to be spells and traps. But furthermore, Penguin Ninja has a secondary effect, which is why he's so good. Because obviously, you're going to be wanting to return monsters more often than spells and traps. But, the option's there, and that's nice. But Penguin Ninja can target a penguin you control, change it to face down defense mode. Now, even if that's no penguin, for example, that doesn't have a flip effect, you can trigger another no penguin in grave because this penguin's activated some form of effect to revive it from grave. And you got 2 level 3s, so yeah, it helps get out them free summons more often, and you can also reset Penguin Soldier and Penguin Ninjas as flip effects. And overall, it's just a good card. So with that being done, that is the Penguin engine that we're running. So for frogs, we are running 2 swap frogs. If you don't know what swap frog does, is you can special summon from hand by discarding another water monster. So that can be any of the penguins, any of the frogs, pretty much any monster in this deck. When it's summoned, you can send a level 2 or lower Aqua monster from deck or face up field to grave. So most of the time you're going to be sending a Ronin Toadin or a Dupe Frog. And so yeah, basically just lets you pitch a card from deck into grave that's level 2 or lower and water. And you can return a monster you control to hand to normal summon a frog during your main phase, except swap frog in addition to your normal summon set. So that's useful because it gets around something that restricts you from special summoning, but you're not going to use that last effect too often. You're mainly wanting to get a free level 2 body on board and a free pitch into grave. But yeah, it's a great extender, it's super fun, and probably one of the best frogs. We were running Unifrog, but I have dropped him now. Next up, we are running 1, 2, 3 Dupe Frogs. Now, what Dupe Frog does is really cool. It becomes Des Frog as his name whilst on field, which doesn't really matter in this deck. Monsters your opponent controls can't target monsters for attack except this one. Again, that doesn't come up too often, and it isn't useful too often. But if this card leaves the field, so like if it's an Xyz material, or if it's just being destroyed in battle, card effect, or being tributed or linked off, you can add a frog from deck or grave to hand, except Dupe Frog. So that's only ever going to be Swap Frog, but it's useful recycle and search to thin out the deck, and overall it's just useful in general. Again, it's another level 2 name. It's Aqua, it's water. So yeah, that's useful. And finally, what makes Dupe Frog so good is the fact that we're running 2 Ronin Toadins. What Ronin Toadin does is, again, you can't be used as Synchro material, by the way. This is a bit of a downside, but with the frogs, you're more going for your Xyz and Link plays anyway. So what Ronin Toadin does is, it becomes Des Frog while on field, which isn't that relevant. But if it's in grave, you can banish a frog from your grave to special summon this card. And that is not once per turn. So, say you have a Ronin Toadin and a Dupe Frog on field. You link them off into something, and they're both in grave. You can then banish this Dupe Frog to bring him out again. Say he becomes an Xyz monster this time, with a Penguin Soldier, for example. And he gets sent as cost for an overlay. and there's already a swap frog in grave, you can banish the swap frog and bring him out again. So late game, Ronin Toadin still holds a lot of combo power and a lot of presence, just because he can keep coming out in the same turn as long as there's frogs in the grave to support him. And with a lot of this deck having synchro monsters that have even levels, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and XEs that are rank 2, and just links that require water monsters, this is just a great card that can keep going into pretty much anything in the deck. Actually, no, ignore the synchro bit. But yeah, still, it's super good. Now, I've been struggling with the ratio on this, but I decided to only go with one-offs with these. We've got Gen X Undyne and Gen X Controller. So, Gen X Undyne, for the cost of discarding a card, a water monster card from deck to grave, you can add Gen X Control. So it thins out the deck, it searches a level 3 tuner, that's overall pretty decent. But obviously if you send no penguin to grave and a penguin effect's activated, that's a free summon. If you send Ronin Toadin to grave, or a frog if there's already a Ronin Toadin in grave, that's your free Ronin Toadin summon. Or if you send this next card, Crystron Rosenix to graveyard, you can banish it for it to become a token. They've got Undyne and a token to go into a Link monster. And I don't have Link Spider, otherwise I'd run it. What you can do is you can banish the Rosenix into a token. Gen X Undyne and token go into Link Spider to special summon Gen X Controller from hand. Just to get some more Link climbing plays, or if you have something like Halky Fibrex, which I also don't have, you can go into some really insane synchro plays. So these three here are really fun, and I like them a lot. Next up, we've got two Gluttonous Retolfin Grethis. That's kind of hard to say. It's a level 3 tuna fish, a water monster, which you can target a fish, sea serpent, or aqua in grave with an equal or lower level than number of cards in your opponent's hand, special summon it. It can't activate its effects this turn, but that's obviously a really easy link or synchro. And if it's sent to grave as synchro material, this card especially, you can make the synchro monster gain 200 attack for each card in your opponent's hand, which it's not going to make too much difference, but it's a nice added bonus on the fact that it's already a quick and easy synchro if you're using this guy and reviving a card. So it's basically just like, because I was running 2 Gen X Controller and 1 Undyne, and 2 Undyne and 2 Gen X Controller, I prefer these and then one of each of Undyne and Controller, because you're not losing out on the amount of tuners, but they're also more generic and more splashable in the deck, and are just better if you draw into them. They're not such a brick card. And finally, for monsters, we're running 1 Gameciel, the Sea-Tail Kaiju. Again, lowest attack Kaiju in the deck, and you can bounce it back to your own hand. Really fun and can get over a lot of big monsters. So, going into spells, we have 2 instant fusions. We have a whole host of fusions. Well, I say a whole host. I'm running 4 different fusions, I believe. It might be 3. But we've got a couple tuners in there. We got Mud Dragon, who can really help stall out and protect your water monsters. And that might be it, actually. But anyway, it's a free summon for 1,000, and you have a lot of choices. It helps you go into your bigger synchros faster, or if you're wanting to go into a little one and don't have any more combo extending to go to, Instant Fusion is a quick way to get another level 2 tuner to go into something like Penguin Brave. We are then running 2 Fury of Kairyuu Shin. This searches out Torrential Tribute from deck to hand, and if a water monster you control would be destroyed by card effect whilst this is in grave, you can banish it to protect it. Something pretty cool that you can do is activate Torrential, banish this, and it protects all your water monsters. So that's pretty crazy. We're running 1 Raigeki. I know you can run 3 now, but this was more just a last minute addition to add some more destruction into the deck. Because if, for example, no penguin's not on the field, you're just bouncing things that can come out later. Raigeki's a good way to just get them in grave. Next, we are running 3 of the penguin spell card, Royal Penguin's Garden. This is a really good continuous spell. On activation, you can search a penguin from deck to hand, so that can be any of them. That's why I was only running 2s and 1s. So I could max out Royal Penguin's Garden, because this is basically just any penguin you want, as long as it doesn't get ash blossomed. And I just found that to be better than consistently getting one penguin, because obviously different scenarios require different penguins, so I preferred this. Also, it has a secondary effect which does come up a few times. You can decrease the level of a penguin in your hand or face-up field by 1 by discarding a card. You can only do it once per turn, but it allows you to modify levels to go into different synchros or go into certain XDs. But it also allows you to make Great Emperor Penguin a level 4 to normal summon to tribute into 2 new penguins. So that's quite cool. And obviously, if you're discarding something like a Rosenix or a No Penguin or a Dupe Frog or even a Ronin Toadin, they're not even negative discards to be doing. So that's why I quite like this. And then finally for spells, we're running 2 copies of Salvage. What this does is target 2 water monsters with 1500 or less attacking grave, add them to your hand. This is going to be most of the penguins. A lot of them fall into this. I believe No Penguin, and Squire, and maybe Great Emperor don't, but your level 2s do. Also, a lot of the frogs do, so that's more level 2s, and Gen X Undyne definitely does as well. So there's a lot of targets to be going with it, and it's just some good reoccurring and hand advantage going on. And then I've actually decided to go for a bit of a paleo engine. You can go for any paleos. I don't own that many, so I pretty much just put all the ones I own in. But if you have a better toolbox of them that you prefer instead of mine, go for that. But you want to make sure you're running a decent amount, because we're going 1 Dino-Miscus, 2 Olonoids, which is spell and trap removal. This is discard to banish. 1 Morella, which is pitching a trap from deck. And 2 Canadias, which usually you're going to use this one to pitch Canadia, because obviously you can't put links into face down. And Canadia is just usually one that's stopped without any cards actually directly stopping it. It's usually just stopped by some weird gimmick or mechanic. So if you don't know, Paleozoics, when a trap is activated whilst these are engraved, you can special summon them as a level 2 that is unaffected by monster effects, I believe. And they have 1200 attack, 0 defense. So you can do a bit of a beatdown with them if you want, but the main thing is you're getting a lot of level 2 bodies on the board, as well as decent traps in general. And they can go into all sorts of synchros and XZs. And there's even, I am running a Paleozoic XZs monster. If you have, it requires 3 level 2s, and if one of them is a trap material, you can discard a card to pop a card, detach a material to pop a card rather than discard a card, which is pretty cool. And obviously, if you only have one trap card as material, you keep this one as material and detach the others. And that card is unaffected by monster effects, which let it get around cards I've come across, like Black Rose Moonlight, which is a bit of a floodgate card. But it's also just good against other random monster effects, like Destroy Phoenix Enforcer and pretty much anything else. Then, obviously, because we're running Fury of Kairi Shin, we're running 2 Torrential. It's just a great card in general, but the fact that you've got searchability with it and obviously built-in protection with the first card, it just makes it a lot better and a lot more worthwhile running. And finally, for main deck, 2 Solemn Warnings. This is great. It stops a summon or an effect that does a summon, so Verte, Fusion Destiny, Branded Fusion, I believe it's called, but there's also all sorts of various things. It's also just when a monster would be summoned, so if they're going into like a Baron or something, it negates the summon and destroys it. So yeah, it does cost 2k life points, but it's worth 2k life points. It can save you from a lot of things. So that is the main deck. It's 42 cards. It's really consistent in getting what you need to happen. And there's not really any boss monsters in the main deck, unfortunately, but you'll see how all of them are a lot more useful when you start looking at this extra deck. So let's just move them on over. So for the extra deck, we've got Synchros. We've got 2 Penguin Brave. Obviously, this is a good one. It's level 6, require 1 tuner and 1 plus non-tuners. So you've got a lot of level 2s to be going into this. And also level 3s. Your opponent can't target face-down defense position monster you control with effects. When this card's Synchro Summon, you can special summon a penguin from your deck in face down defense mode. Obviously, if you bring out a soldier, because of his first effect, it can't even be targeted with effects. And when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, flip a face down monster. So you can be flipping monsters on their turn, interrupting. If no penguin's there, that's an interrupting banish as well. Probably the boss monster in terms of, well, one of the boss monsters in terms of synchros. We've got Trishula, just a straight up 1 tuner plus 2 non-tuners, 2 plus non-tuners to get into level 9. This is quite easy because of all the level modulation and the fact that tuners, we've got level 5, 4, and 3 tuners in here. When Synchro Summon, you can banish up to 1 card each from hand, field, and graveyard of your opponent. The card in hand is random, but any form of hand ripping is good. Field banishing is also great, and grave banishing can stop some reoccurring or revival effects, which is also neat. For example, again, I'm going to use the same one. Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, you can banish him in grave to stop him reviving himself. Then, we're running a bit of a weird one. Metaphys Horus. It gains different effects based on the non-tuner used. And it's only going to be an effect monster, but it lets you target face-up card on field and get its effects. So, obviously that's always handy. It's level 6, so it's quite easy to get into. And a 23 body is respectable. It's nothing too fancy, but it's just an option that's in there. You're not going to bring it out too often, but it's still great. Then we've got the level 8 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. This is your absolute boss monster. Again, with level modulation, he's easy to bring out, and he is super strong. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, banish that card. Unfortunately, it's not like you can do it. It's like mandatory. And you can only use each effect of Draco Berserker once per turn. But also, if this attacks over an effect monster and sends it to grave, it gains attack equal to that monster's attack and can attack again. Or original attack, and then it can make a second attack on a monster. So you can't just like hit something and then attack directly for game. You have to keep attacking monsters. But it's still good at clearing boards and doing a lot of damage. And then next, I believe the attack game is permanent, by the way. We're running a Ravenous Crocodragon Archetypes. Again, nothing specific in terms of what type of tuner and non-tuner it requires. And it gains 500 attack and defense for each card in your hand. And if this card's Synchro Summon, you can draw cards equal to the number of non-tuners. Obviously, with it being so high level and with a lot of your cards being level 2s and 3s, you can actually really bump this up, and with level modulation to get a lot of draw power from bringing this guy out. And quick effect, you can discard 2, target a card on the field, destroy it. Again, you're not going to use this one often, but this card isn't too averse to getting cards discarded through the likes of all the Frogs and Ronin Toadin, Crystron Rosenix, and your... what is it now? Paleozoics also would benefit from it too, so... yeah, that's a good thing about this deck. And for final Synchro monster, we're running a Deep Sea Prima Donna. Obviously, you're probably going to have better Synchro cards than me, so feel free to replace this with pretty much any Synchro. But your opponent can't target Synchro monster that use this card's material because it's a tuner. With effect, so it's a good one to climb with Synchro Climb. But you could target one of your opponent's banished cards, add to your hand, or special summon 1 level 4 or lower water monster from your deck. And if you do, add that target to the hand. So if they're running Grand Majou or something that likes being banished, you can just say, take it back. I want to get a monster from deck. Or special summon. So it's a free search or special summon, which is super useful. And if it's sent to grave, you could target a banished card, shuffle it into deck. So that can be your banished pile as well. For Xyz, we only have 3. We have 2 copies of Totally Awesome. Just requires 2 level 2 Aquas, so that can be penguins or frogs. And you can detach the material from this to special summon a frog on standby phase, so that's super useful. And during either player's turn, when your opponent activates spell, trap, or monster, send an Aqua from hand or field to grave, negate it, destroy it and set it to your field, this can get some crazy plays. I managed to steal cards like Raigeki with this before. It's just super fun, and you can use it whenever you want, which makes it so much more better than something like Draco Berserker, as your opponents never really like to play underneath this card. Finally, for Xyz, we've got Paleozoic Anomalocaris. This card is super cool. It requires 3 or more level 2s, and obviously you want to be making it with at least one Paleo trap card. I pretty much explained it earlier. It's 2400, unaffected by monster effects. If you have a trap as a material, you can detach one to destroy one, and also if a trap is activated, you can like excavate the top card of your deck, and if it's a trap, add it to hand. If not, send it to grave. I don't use that effect, but I mean you can if you're in a pinch and need some draw power, or if you have a Ravenous Crocodragon who needs some extra attack points on him, or just needs something for his discard effect, you can do that. And then finally, oh no, not finally, I'll quickly show you the instant fusion targets. Muddragon of the Swamp. So basically, opponents can't target this card or monsters with the same attribute with card effects. It starts out as water. It can change its attributes, so if you want to protect one of your synchros specifically, you can do that, but you're pretty much just going to be keeping it as water to protect things like Totally Awesome, Penguin Brave, Trishula, and just all your main deck monsters, so that's pretty cool. And the fact that you can just bring it out for 1k life points is just a great thing. We're running a Alvain, the Essence of Vanity. It's a level 2 tuner. Nothing else to say there. It can go into your Xyz. Actually, it can't because it's not Aqua. But it can help your Synchro plays and Synchro climbing. And then finally, for fusions, Sea Monster of Thesis. Again, it's just a tuner. It's level 5, giving you those easier Synchro plays and free summons if you get interrupted. And then finally, we're going into Link Monsters. We have an Area of the Water Charmer Gentle. If your opponent's running water monsters, this is really good. Even if not, you get a free search on destruction. Miss Starboy, which is the main one you're going to play. Plus 500 attack and defense for all water monsters on the field, and fire monsters lose stats, but like that's not going to come up too often. Although branded, it may come up a bit. And if this card's destroyed by battle card effect, you can target a water monster in grave, add to hand. So it's a nice bit of reoccurrence and a nice little buff for your cards if you don't know what to turn them into. A Miss Starboy is always great. And 1900 body, it's respectable as well. So I thank you all so much for watching. If you have any suggestions, I know obviously there's no hand traps in this deck, and it is just casual in general. But any suggestions or anything for future videos even, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to reply to those comments, and again, if it's a good suggestion or whatever, I'll cover it as well. So I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be, and thank you again for watching.